Hi gamers and Stadia players, welcome to episode 19 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. I'm joined by my usual co-host this week. We've got Richie still in the hot seat over there, feeling a bit rough.
Yep, definitely.
Morning, afternoon, good night. And we've got the very happy welcome return of Tom as well. He's joining us. Hi Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you,
Doing
Chris.
very
How are
well.
you?
Tom's bringing all the energy this week.
Yeah, me and Richard have had a bit of a busy one last night, and I think we've only had probably about five hours sleep, I'd say, if that.
Something like that. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and you were still at mine, and we were
Yeah.
still up.
It was far too much Captain Morgan's and Coke, and
You can fill in the blanks.
Yeah, we did
had a good
manage
time.
to get.
We had a good
We
time.
did. There was a lot more of us, just to be clear. It wasn't just me and Richard having a pleasant merry night. Because if we were, we would have streamed it for all you listeners out there as well.
Just me and Chris sat there getting pissed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure someone would watch it out there. And we did obviously send Tom a lovely photo of us with his fiance as well, just to prove she does exist and she's being well looked after.
Thank you, gents. I appreciate the white knighting there.
That's all right. That's okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, before we dig into the topics and all the Stadia news this week, I just wanted to catch up with the two of you. Obviously, we had Luke on last week in Tom's absence, which I think, again, thank you to Luke for stepping in there, going through all the experiences he's came across so far regarding the Buddy Pass. The Buzzy Pass?
The Buzzy Pass.
That comes in the spring and the summer when all the bees are out. But yeah, I think he was a great guest to have on. He really gave some strong insight into outside of the gaming circle, what they bring to the table and how Stadia can appeal to those. But yeah, I think overall we're glad to have you back, Tom.
Thank you.
Hopefully, it feels like you were missing for longer for some reason.
Yeah,
this is 1 week. I don't know if it's been a busy week or a long week or
It's
what.
kind of 2 weeks since we sat down with him to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the reason why it feels like that. But yeah, for anyone who was listening as well, I do apologize for not being here. The reason for it is that obviously, as you know, I'm engaged. I've got a wedding next year, and we've just got a lot of things that we're planning and stuff at the moment. So I was just a little bit preoccupied with sorting stuff out for it. So it won't happen often, but unfortunately, the timing for that particular thing was just not good in any way, shape, or form. So I
do not need to apologise, sir. You certainly do not need to apologise, because no doubt it'll happen to one of three of us at some point throughout the year. So yeah, don't worry. We pulled it together and we still hopefully brought you a great episode.
It was a great
show.
Mm,
thanks. Have you subscribed to us yet, Tom?
Yeah, I'm also considering checking out the Patreon as well, actually.
Oh, excellent. That's great. What's that again? Can you fill us in on that?
I do believe it's patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, and I think you can actually become a Sounds of Stadia founder.
Founder, yes. We stole that from Google. We thought we'd use that. For only 78 pence or $1 if you're in the States as well. So help fund, I was going to say mine and Richie's drinking habits, but that doesn't sound like a good thing. We need a lot more than the 78 pence to keep that ticking over. But yes, so we are back this week. We're back the trifecta, the trio, the Magic 3, whatever you want to call us. We are back. And we've had quite a busy week outside of our own podcast as well. We had showcased our skills, hopefully, on the Stadia Talk podcast yesterday with Chase and Eddie. Go check that out on their YouTube channel as well. We had a really good in-depth discussion about the future of Stadia, a few of the news topics this week as well. And yeah, it was great fun. I had an amazing time. I think Richie and Tom would echo those sentiments as well. So thank you again to Chase and Eddie for pulling that together and having us on as guests. We'd love to do it in the future. And we know both of you are probably on your way to work now, listening to this on your morning commute. So good morning. Enjoy your coffee. Oh, watch out for that car. Oh, no, wait, it's not. It's fine.
Hopefully the traffic jam isn't too bad.
That's if you're driving. Yeah, hopefully you make it safely to work so you can keep listening to us.
Otherwise, if there are cars on the underground, then you do need to start panicking anyway.
Yes. 2 hands on the wheel, remember, gentlemen, at all times. So we've got quite a jam-packed week, actually. It was one of those weeks where it went from being quite quiet to bang, Monday morning, alarm bells ring, and we got plenty of news. So, Tom, you've relaxed your vocal cords from yesterday to pull this out?
I'm prepared. Right, let's go for it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. It is the super sexy special Stadia Stories segment, gents, a.k.a. The News.
Oh, yeah. Sing along at home.
Just us three than the five-person one we tried to do on them This Week on Stadia, though.
Yeah, that just turned into a distorted mess, I think, with 5 people.
Well, we've been told by some of the community members as well that the day that we actually do get it in sync is the day they unsubscribe. So I think we sort of have to keep this up now.
I still kind of want to get it right.
Yeah, we're going to have to buy a bottle of champagne for the day we get it right and just pop it straight away.
I'll have party poppers on hand.
Well, speaking of champagne, Richie, that costs a lot more than 78 pence or $1.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, yes, we've got the news segment going into. Like I said, it's been a busy week this week. So to kickstart things off, we got the exciting information at the beginning of the week, which we all knew was coming. People were, I think, getting a bit tetchy. It was a long January. Felt like about 6 months long January. We're finally there. We've all been paid. And thankfully, alongside getting paid, we also got 2 free games.
Woohoo!
So we got from Google, quite a surprise. I don't think any of us had these combination of predictions last week's show. The week before last show. I personally, I think I had the final Tomb Raider game in Trials Rising or something. Richie, your money was on Doom.
It was if it was launched, but I think I did come round to your thoughts on like it probably is going to be Tomb Raider.
We were both wrong.
Random stab at
I'm glad I was wrong.
Yeah. So the 2 free games we got Metro Exodus and we got Guilt, which I did mention on yesterday's Stadia Talk show that actually these feel like 2 very Halloween themed games. You've got a scary puzzle game and you've got a scary first person game in Russia. So these are fantastic for me. I don't own either of them at this point. I've not quite been suckered in by the prices that have been outstanding on the Stadia store. But what are your thoughts, gentlemen, on these 2 titles that we've got for our February free pro games?
Well, for me, Guilt was one of them games I was interested in, but I had a sneaking suspicion that at some point it would come as a pro game, so I've just held off, and I'm very much glad to be right on that one, and I look forward to jumping into it.
You mean you wouldn't demand a refund, Richie, if you'd bought it and then it came as a free game?
Well, if I bought it day one and I completed it, then yeah, I think it's completely unreasonable to ask for a refund. I've seen some people like in the community go on Twitter and on Facebook saying, "Oh, I can't get a refund because this game has come out pro." It's like you've had it for 2 months.
Yeah, but if they've not played longer than 2 hours, people, there's interesting rules, and we've covered it in previous episodes. But the reality is these are free games. They are going to come. They are going to be from the existing library. That's how it works.
It happens on PlayStation Plus and things like that as well. Occasionally, you'll get what is it? Is it Uncharted collection or something?
It was last time, January.
I've not asked for a refund for the game when I bought that game. So
February is the BioShock collection, which is another decent trilogy, which Tom hasn't played.
No,
Tom must be excited on that front.
Not like I've got enough things to play already, because I'm really looking forward to Guild personally.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's been the title that I've sort of really wanted to get into, because I've voiced before that I feel like we are really, we're swamped with FPS games. So to get a game that is a puzzle based sort of like actiony adventure type title, that sings a lot to me. That does. Metro Exodus, I'm excited about getting it because again, it's meant to be a really good game, but it's another FPS, so for me it's going to go on the back burner. But Guilt is definitely one that I could see myself playing, and I could see myself really enjoying it. I've watched a lot of videos in the community about it as well, and it does look really fun. So I'm well up for it. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's been on my radar since day one, but I think unfortunately at the $29.99 price tag that it was hovering around for the most part, it never hit that sweet almost indie spot that you need, which I believe is around the £14-15 to probably $20 mark or something.
But we do have to respect the fact that it is a Stadia exclusive at the moment.
It is the Stadia exclusive.
It is the Stadia exclusive, and now everybody who has Stadia has it.
Yeah, we discussed this on Stadia Talk again, but we can reiterate the points for our listeners here. What kind of mechanics are running behind the scenes in regards to this deal? So it's exclusive to Stadia. Why would something that's exclusive be going free? You would presume, with it being exclusive, that would be the one game on the entire catalog library they would want to keep as a purchase, because you can't get it anywhere else at this point.
Yeah. My thoughts on this were quite simply, Google have announced there's 120 games in the next year coming to Stadia. 10 of them are going to be timed exclusives or exclusives. I've got a feeling that's a lot of games to come in a fairly short period of time. I've got a feeling they just don't want to get drowned out by everything that's about to turn up on the platform. So giving it that push now, and then there's been loads of people like we were saying on This Week on Stadia yesterday. That was when you listen to this, it'll actually have been Saturday because we record this on Sunday.
Time travel.
Yeah. We were saying we've went from considering buying this game to now planning to do some content around it. And that's going to be good for them developers, especially next month when it's off. If Stadia Base comes next month, people are Googling what games to play in Stadia, and there's loads of content creators making stuff around Guild.
It's smart business.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about as well is, and again, it has been discussed within the community, but I wonder whether Guilt originally came out as a timed exclusive on Stadia, and whether they're now looking to push to other platforms, and that sort of exclusivity period has now come to an end, or is drawing towards the end. So Google has sort of forced their hand a little bit and said, right, okay, while it is still exclusive to Stadia, people should be or are now going to be aware of it. So there may just be like an extra month, maybe a couple of months or so, once it's gone free to us, to the founders, to the Premier users, the Buddy Pass users. And now, once that publicity goes out there, maybe that's going to be an incentive for people who are interested in it, of possibly actually investing in getting into into the system, into the community before base comes.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
we never know the logistics of these deals behind the scenes, and yeah, there could be many reasons why Guilt is the Stadia Pro game for February. One of my theories was if they've not sold as many copies on Stadia as they originally agreed with Google, then it was either going to go live as a program due to the lack of sales, just to self-promote them, as you mentioned, Tom, for other platforms. If Guilt suddenly becomes non-Stadia exclusive going into March, April, May, and it's now available on PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Nintendo PC, it's just a great bit of free marketing as kind of like a safety blanket for, right, Google promises this many sales, we didn't hit that quota, but by default, off the back of not selling as much, they then get that almost like free promotional boost for other outlets, which would be the other platforms. But again, it's all just theorizing, but I think we're all in agreement that we are looking forward to playing Guild. It's been a while since I've played a little puzzle game like that. We are planning on creating some content around it, hopefully, so keep your eyes on our YouTube account for that. In regards to Guilt, from what I've seen, it reminds me a lot of Concrete Genie, which I played a few months back. Very much that third person. You're a young. I feel like is it a teenager or something you play? It's a young girl. I feel from what I've seen.
It's sort of like a coming of age title, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and it has just got that like kind of artsy horror trope to it. But I'm really interested to get stuck into it. And similar to you, Tom, kind of a bit worn out on the first person shooters at the moment. But Metro Exodus, I remember watching the E3 trailer. I recall last year or the year before. And it really had me intrigued. I've not played any of the Metro games before, but they've always been on my radar as those bundles. And looking at this one, it looked like fantastic. I know it got a bit of flack around going Epic exclusive, I think, for PC. It was one of those poached Epic deals they had back earlier last year. So to get into that again, another horror game, which I know nothing about, I'm always up for scares, but there's a time and a place.
Metro, it's one of them franchises for me that I've known of for a long time, but I've never really paid any attention to it at all. So I am glad it's come through, because this is one of the nice things about pro games, about getting games from Pro for free, because it gives you a chance to jump into stuff that you probably wouldn't have went out and bought, and you never know, you might find it's a game that you really loved.
Yeah, it's a great kind of like tapas style, like just all variety choosy games, because in reality, would any of us ever played Farming Simulator before? Or probably Samurai Showdown, or many of the other titles that will come and go in this library?
Well, moving away from them Stadia, I played Persona 5 on PlayStation Now, and it's a game that I was interested in, but never felt the need to go out and buy it. But because I had access to it, I'd give it a go, and I played 150 hours of it.
Yeah,
it's a long game.
long game. But yeah, I think it is great for just getting people in, like you said, and they get a little taster of something they wouldn't otherwise maybe choose. So even if you are disappointed with these titles, because I'm sure there's a small amount of people out there who are annoyed they didn't get the next Tomb Raider installment, or they didn't get a new Doom game or something like that, jump in and try them out. Games aren't, the specific titles aren't for everyone, but you never know, you might come across an absolute hidden gem that you fall in love with, and that could end up being your game of the year, or something you put hours and hours of your dedicated time into. And the great thing with, I think, Metro in particular is there's an entire back catalogue for you to go to explore of Metro games. I think there's about 4 titles in total now. There's Redux, something, 20, is it 2020, and like a bunch of, there's plenty of content out there. So jump in, try them out as we will, and look out for our content over on the YouTube channel, which is going up hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Speaking of updates we got from Google, the kind of second news story of the week to follow was Stadia released their save point update. I think that's their official term for
Stadia save point, yeah.
Save point, which is I like it. I like it's quite catchy. Did you two gentlemen have a chance to check out the content of the save point?
I did, and it feels like you said before, it feels like this has been an extremely long week, because I feel like this came out ages ago, but in reality, it was only sort of like Tuesday last week.
January 73rd. That's when it came out.
It's what it feels like. I suppose January is a really long month for all of us.
Yeah, January is about 8 weeks long. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. But no, it's nice to get a bit of an update. It's nice to see a collation of information as well from Andre as well over at Stadia, so director of product. It's nice to hear from him, not from Grace or Chris, but actually like the head honcho. Yeah,
there's more than 2 people who work there.
There are 3.
Yeah, 3 now. They've recruited over Christmas.
So what have we got?
People.
Yeah, we got the information from the community blog before about the whole tracking more than 120 games, 10 timed exclusives, first half of 2020, and so on. But we got a little bit more information on the other news stories that we'd read about. So things like the collaboration with BT, which we talked about with Dan from Stadia Source. Following that, there was also the Verizon partnership with Stadia as well over in the States. And then a little bit more about some of the events that are going on that we're going to touch on later as well. But no, nice to see it all come together, really.
Yeah, just kind of a condensed update that's outside of a blog post, which I think it makes it a bit more official to the wider world who isn't in such a niche market. One of the things that intrigued me was the fact that the BT partnership is a strategic collaboration, whereas the Verizon one is just kept to we're partnering with Verizon to bring you fiber. It makes me curious as to why they aren't just we're in a strategic collaboration with BT and Verizon.
So I've got some thoughts behind it. I've got some thoughts about that, actually. I wonder, because in the UK, for those of you overseas in the States, in Canada, in Europe, and so on, wherever you're listening from in the world, BT essentially own the infrastructure to the UK's network. As far as I'm aware, they were obviously previously connected with OpenReach. I know the government have made them split up, so they're now 2 separate entities. But BT used the OpenReach network infrastructure in the UK. So I wonder whether I've seen it with some video game companies before that run a lot of network services, so things like esports and so on. Now, I'm wondering whether Stadia have partnered with BT to sort of streamline the service using the network and using the connections within the UK, because what they could then do is they could say to BT, right, we want to maximize the potential for this product within your country, within your infrastructure. How would we best do it? So the strategic collaboration could come in there by saying, by allowing BT to sort of plan how our network traffic is actually transmitted around the country in order to make it the best possible experience for us. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, BT on the back of that can advertise himself as the best place to play Google Stadia.
Yeah.
From my insight, the biggest thing for me is obviously 5G is rolling out in the UK, and BT were the first with their partner company EE to roll out 5G, and they continue to roll it out in more cities and towns than any other network provider in the UK. So when we talk about Stadia gaming on the go, gaming anywhere, this could be something where the collaboration comes into going into 2020 and beyond that, with dealing up to introduce things like portable gaming. So when Stadia rolls out to tablets, all mobile devices, not just the Google Pixel, these partnered with potentially, devices that can play anywhere in the country, regardless of wires or landline network connection. It could be a total sweet deal for both parties.
There's things you could do on the mobile side where, okay, we're not actually, if you're using Stadia, it's not actually going towards your data caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it with video pass and music, so you can stream Spotify at the moment without interrupting your data. You can stream YouTube without eating into your data cap. Yeah, the gaming pass already exists, so if that partners with Stadia in particular, game for as long as you want on the move, and it's not going to eat an ounce of your gigabytes.
That would generally be pretty cool, because I think in the UK, we typically, for our home internet Wi-Fi, it tends to be uncapped, but mobile data plans, you do have these data caps.
Now, the one thing that sort of annoys me about that is the fact that we have these data caps in place in terms of mobile data being transmitted, but mobile devices are constantly transmitting packets of data anyway. Like, even if you are not sending a message, you're not using any sort of internet capability, you're still sending empty packets of data because you still need to maintain that connection to the network. So it's always been something that's actually pissed me off, and I've got a bit of beef about that, actually. So I'd like Bean Sunday. We could talk about beef, right? Roast dinners and all that.
Yep.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yorkshire puddings.
I'm getting there. It's a very loose connection, but I do have a bit of beef with Google and with Stadia at the moment about mobile devices. Yeah, I know.
What's your beef, Tom? Tell us about your beef.
Yeah. My beef is as you know, I use an Apple product. I use an Apple phone, iPhone.
Ah, that's your
iPhone
beef.
8.
You use Apple.
Yeah, that's my beef. The problem is at the moment is that with the new games that came out, we've also got some pro deals. We got some pro deals that I was quite excited about. I recently got from a friend a gift card for Google Play, which I used on a Google Play account. And then I found out I cannot use that credit to purchase any games. You can't do it from Chrome browser, on a computer, on a laptop, and you cannot do it from an iOS device. However, I believe, Chris, you've had a different experience.
Yes, on my Samsung Galaxy S10 device, which runs on Android, when you get to the checkout stage, it simply lets you tap it, select from different varieties of bank cards or Google Play balance or credit, as Tom mentioned. So I bought Trials Rising this week as it's a pro deal. For £8, purely using those free credits that we alluded to many episodes back. If you download an app called Google Play Rewards, you fill out some short surveys for simply traveling the country. You visit this restaurant, do us a quiz. You went to this hotel, how was it? You answer those few simple questions and you get free Google credit in return, which is the same setup that you would use for a gift card, as Tom's mentioning there. So yeah, I bought Trials Rising, dropped into the checkout option, dropped down the little icon, and totally got it for free, in my opinion. But you've got £20 sat there.
Yeah, but what's really fucking annoying about it is the fact that I know that my Google Play account is tied to the exact same Google account that I use Stadia for, and I can literally load Stadia up in my browser right now, click my account, look at my account payment methods, and I can see Google Play in there with the credit, but I can't bloody use it. When I come to checkout, I cannot select it. And I'm just like, what is the point of that? Like,
this is one that Google do need to be better at, just syncing up their own platforms better.
Oh, it's just frustrating because I know I've got the money there, and it's literally they've just got to integrate the payment method. It's not hard.
Yeah, it does seem like one of the core features that would have just been there from day one, like payments. Like, if anything, it's restricting you from spending money on their products, so it's a win-win for everyone all around. You get your game and they get the money. But it's definitely a laughable scenario.
So there's my beef, but that's my Sunday beef for you this week.
Yes.
Oh, that needs to be a segment.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Tom's
Sunday beef.
Tom's supple Sunday beef.
Nice.
But sod's law, anyone who's listening to this throughout the week, they'll have brought out an update on Monday when this podcast goes live that simply patches that. Because I did see the controller the controller did get a stealth update this week, which most likely by now all of our controllers, if they've been connected to the network, will have updated by default. They didn't. It was just a stealth update. I think it's just little bug fixes and latency issues and stuff like that. So it would not surprise me. We had an app update last week, Tom Mind. So we may get another app update this week, 2.0, 2.0, 2.0, whatever it may be. And yeah, by the time you're listening to this, check out your app if you're using an iOS device and have a little laugh to yourself if it allows you to pay by anything other than card, because yeah, Tom will have been remedied in the time that it takes you to listen to this podcast. But that was Tom's. Yeah, say it in a subtle tone. We'll definitely work on a theme tune or something for that, Tom. So now you need to just think of what pisses you off through the week and bring it to the table every Monday.
I've always got something to complain about.
Don't we all? It's in our British nature to have something to complain about. So speaking of not complaining, I guess you alluded to it. Pro game discounts. So you said there, Tom, you wanted to spend that cash milk that you've got and you wanted to get into the pro discounts. I got Trials Rising, picked it up on a great discount. What do you actually have your eye on?
I don't have my eye on it anymore because I can't use my Google Play credit for it. I decided to shell out some real cash and I got Mortal Kombat.
That's it. That's what they wanted. They wanted you to shell out the real, actual hard money and their fictional credit points. Your Republic credits are no good here, Tom. They don't work.
Well played, Google. Well played. You got me.
Because then you're going to eventually spend that credit on the store once it goes live. So
I can't cash it out, can I? So I've got to use it somewhere.
Get yourself to an ATM, stick your phone in, see what happens. So in terms of pro deals we got this month, which I do actually appreciate how they hit us with, here's your free games, but while you're in the mood of acquiring extra games, why not treat yourself to something? So I think it's very cleverly timed because I think you're getting free stuff, you're probably more obliged to spend some actual money. Because you feel like you've just got 60 quid's worth of content, so I'm more likely to put 10, 20, 30 quid down on a game if I've just got 60 quid's worth of stuff.
I don't fully necessarily agree there, because I've just got 2 games. I've got 2 games I want to play now, so there's games I might be having my eye on going, I'm going to hold off. I think they should be staggering the timing. If they're going to give you the pro games at the start of the month, have the sales running from the middle of the month.
Yeah, but that's not how a consumer society works. You're just better with your money, clearly, than everybody else, Richie. Yeah. But I think it's a really, it's Amazon do the trick all the time where you're shopping around and they'll recommend something that other people have bought just as you've added it to your basket. And it's very convenient that once you're looking for something to go in your kitchen, there's all of a sudden several other things that can reel you in at a special discount rate.
Yeah. We recommend you buy this with this. Oh, it's just one click to get all 3 in your basket.
And we do. I fall foul of it every time we go to the cinema and the lady behind the cash checkout asks, would you like to go large for it? And before she's even finished saying the amount it is, I'm pretty much sold on it already.
It's usually 20 pence and you get like 3 litres of Coke, which end up you're just not drinking anywhere.
Yeah, but as soon as that sentence rolls out of my mouth, my brain's already going, it's a bargain. Yes. Give
Absolutely.
Me all that popcorn.
And a hot dog.
Yeah, so you end up spending more than you initially would. And that's how sales work. I mean, we all remember the great Stadia Black Friday deal. That wasn't. So there's a throwback for you there.
There's a throwback.
Chris is bringing some chicken to the table with beef.
I suppose I'm going to have to bring the pork then.
Yeah, that's it. We've all got meaty problems that get in the way of us buying games.
It's just 3 gents with meat problems.
This episode's gone off the rails very quickly there. So yes, pro deals we got are Just Dance 2020. Is priced down from January 28th to February 4th at about a 40% rate, and Trials Rising.
I don't fully understand how that works in Stadia.
It's the clues in the title, Richie. You just dance. You download the game and you just dance. That's it. Nothing else. Trials Rising from Ubisoft got a 60% price down, which was enough to entice me into it. £8 or $10 for a happy-go-lucky arcade game that you see your character pretty much break his neck on every fall and flip that he does. But it's something I've definitely jumped into, and I really want to do a stream of it at some point. Just take turns and see how close we can get to the gold medals. Because I tell you now, I'm only on the second round of races, I guess they're called. And I'm not good at that game in the slightest. Even the tutorial, just trying to get your gas on the pedal and your brake aligned up correctly. I'm falling over, breaking my neck, breaking legs, falling off the damn bike, flipping it somehow. But you know what? It's fun. It's arcadey. It's very much jump in. The level resets as soon as you fall off, and it's just one of those quick-paced games you can jump into and mess around with. And Tom, you got the Mortal Kombat deal.
I did.
That also dropped. So Mortal Kombat was down to $24 US. So you got a 60% discount off that. How much did you get it for UK money?
So I picked up the premium edition that comes with the combat pack, so that includes all the DLC. So you get the extra downloadable characters, which includes Nightwolf, Sindel, and then you also get the DC pack. So you get Joker, and you also get T-800 Terminator, which was
nice.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting, but actually it fits in quite well. Like it just seems to work quite nicely. But that came to, I believe it was £28 or £26. I have to double check that. Check
of your own hard-earned cash.
Of my own hard-earned cash.
Not Google credits. Is that combat pack spelled with a K by any chance as well?
Everything that begins with a C in Mortal Kombat starts with a K.
That's the
everything.
That's yeah. Well, if you're going to do it, why not commit, I suppose. How have you found the game so far?
Loving it.
You were gushing over it this morning before we started recording.
Absolutely. So I started playing it last night, and I just kept going. Like, I lost a lot of sleep last night just because I wanted to keep playing it. Like, I found it very difficult to break myself away from the story. And I think it's because the story is just continuous. There's no sort of like hard end to a chapter and then start of a new chapter. It just flows one scene to the next all the way through. So I just beat it this morning. Hell of a lot of fun. I'm just doing sort of like some of the extra features of the game now. But yeah, well worth it. And the latest
pro now.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not a pro. I'm decent. I button mash. But I definitely recommend it because what I've noticed so far is in terms of I mean, one of the big issues I've thought about Stadia with fighting games is that we're going to have sort of like, input lag and so on there. But it's been absolutely fine. Even in terms of the smoothness of the game, it's been incredibly smooth. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Give it a shot.
I know we have a YouTube video promoting Samurai Showdown where we played that back in December. And that was one of the reasons we wanted to use that on our live stream, was because to check out that latency, because you're right, the input is critical for fighting games, just like it is first-person shooters. You need that response time, so it's good to see them showcasing them on Stadia, because it kind of just disbands that myth, that rumor that they can't be streamed because of the latency requirements. So it's great to hear that it's running smooth. Who's your favorite character so far?
So far, I think I've probably had the most success with some of the old school characters like Scorpion and Johnny Cage. Really,
Johnny Cage. Does
Johnny
he still
Cage
have sunglasses on?
So, I'm not going to spoil the story much. I know the game's been out a while, but basically they do a big...
That's a story point.
Sort of.
Critical to his origins, Richie.
Yeah, they have a big timey-wimey thing going on in there, where basically they have all of the characters in the present, and then they bring all of the characters from the past, like 20 years past, into it. So it's a big, time loop.
That sounds like some DC shit. No wonder they managed to get Joker and such in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
But you did mention the T-800 showed up in there. Does he look like the skeletal robot, or is it Arnold Schwarzenegger? What's the likeness we're talking?
It's old Arnie, so it's more of looking back at what was the most recent Terminator movie?
Not Genesis. That was the one with Emilia Clarke in.
Yeah, is it Dark Fate?
Dark Fate, yeah, that's the one.
Dark Fate, yeah. So it's old Arnie, but it's still his model. It looks exactly like him.
Oh, it's
really
so
good.
They've got his likeness. They've not done a knockoff attempt at someone who looks remotely like him.
No, it seems like it's a clear tie-in, to be honest with you.
Fantastic. So, speaking of tie-ins to Mortal Kombat and the Terminator, we also got another news story this week that is also coming across to Ghost Recon. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, which is available on Stadia also. I believe it's similar to the Predator DLC that dropped into Ghost Recon Wildlands a few years back. It's one of those really, really clever marketing things that I think just gives the game a bit of a push to those who maybe they've enjoyed the story, they've enjoyed the drug cartel background, or whatever Breakpoint's main feature is. And yeah, why not add this extra quirky DLC in, where the Terminator's not going to hunt you down through the forest and stuff, and as your group. I think it's great. I think when growing up, we didn't really get the option for much tie-ins outside of really, really bad movie tie-in games. So the fact that we're getting it in big AAA titles from massive companies now, but as a little supplement to a main story, you can almost take a serious title and add a bit of humor into it, which you'll get a laugh out of. But yeah, it sounds like it's doing great in Mortal Kombat. I'd imagine it's got some fantastic finishing moves, just the old T-800. So just imagine him in Ghost Recon hunting you down with his red targeting system vision and all the special weapons and moves. Especially if it's crawling on the floor with no legs, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I'm sort of feeling like the more I see about things like this, like tie-in events, it's making me want to get Breakpoint. Like,
Terminator and like Wildlands did that with me with Predator. As soon as the concept of Predator hunting you in the jungle and you take turns, it was just like that. It just adds that different dynamic to it, which makes me lead to believe why Predator Hunting Grounds is a thing that comes out on PlayStation this year, purely from the back of how good Ghost Recon Wildlands was. As DLC, they've made an entire game out of it. It's an asymmetric one where you are hunted or you are being the hunter in that world. Cool. It looks cool as well.
It's almost like these developers are sort of testing the water, isn't it? First, by let's put the Terminator into a game that's just been released, see how it does, and if it works out quite well and people like it, how about we make a game?
Yeah, why not? And again, it harks back to what we've mentioned in previous episodes around nostalgia and the power of bringing familiar properties, into big known quantities. And if you can take these massive games, we've seen it with Fortnite. They are the kings of kind of cross-pollination with massive brands. They had bloody Thanos in it from Avengers Endgame last year, or Infinity War, sorry. That's huge.
Marvel things.
Marvel, they've just had Star Wars tie-in with Rise of Skywalker, where they actually showcased some exclusive trailer footage within the game of Fortnite. So to see this footage, you couldn't watch it on YouTube. You couldn't see it at the cinema. You had to sign into the game, go to a particular location, and they had a big screen TV which showcased the footage within the game.
I think that just speaks worlds for for the age we live in at the moment, isn't it? Really,
the industry. It's huge to think the geeky gaming culture that essentially Star Wars kickstarted back in the 70s. It's now come full circle, and you can only witness their key content through a fake digital world.
It's another step closer to this like VR reality where we just sit there and just watch. We live our lives through virtual reality.
Yeah, certainly. Give yourself a pinch if you're listening along now, and just double check that you are really not in the Matrix.
Unplug from the Matrix. Just grab the back of your head.
You've been under for too long.
Yep, and the great thing with Stadia is you can take it outside with you, so you don't need to stay indoors. But great DLC. I'm looking forward to it, and as you alluded to there, Tom, it definitely piques my interest in Ghost Recon. So hopefully they'll get some exclusive kind of tie-in content going forward to just keep taking that game over. And we know Ubisoft have been fantastic at supporting aftercare with these games, because Rainbow Six Siege is in like its 5th year now. Through continued support and these little tweaks and maps and such. So hopefully it's going to breathe some fresh life into Ghost Recon. And you never know, Tom, we might see a pro deal in the future, so you can finally spend that Google credit.
Hey,
you never know. But yeah, DLC is a great thing, and we actually also had a story drop before we found out about our pro games this week, and that was Metro Exodus is actually getting some story DLC, day and date, I believe, with the rest of the world, called Sam's Story, which I presume is story-based if it's got the word in the title. Obviously, without playing the game, I'm none the wiser regarding what the content actually is, but an expansion pass is always welcome, especially when it's coming day and date to Stadia. Any thoughts on this, gentlemen?
Not really,
without playing, obviously, it's hard
to
give any insight.
I think it's quite tactical again, isn't it? Really, that they've dropped it as the free game. It's almost like the devs have gone, right, okay, yeah, we're happy to agree to allow Metro Exodus to go for free. We're dropping some DLC so people can jump in, play the game, because the DLC doesn't actually come out on Stadia until the 11th. So at the time of recording, that's a week on Tuesday. So you've got a solid 9 days there to play through the story. Yeah, play through the story, and then the DLC's waiting for you. Smart move.
And then again, if you think on the back end, the amount of people who maybe wouldn't have bought the game, now the company's going to get $11, $12 out of this purchase just for DLC. So you're right, it's tactical. That can't be overlooked. But if I enjoy the game, like I said, over the next 9 days, Tom, I'm 100% more likely to go, you know what, I enjoyed that game, I'd like a little bit more. Give it to me, especially if it's story driven, because I think a lot of DLC is usually just supplemental. Whereas the great thing with a story campaign is you can really get stuck into it and enjoy it at a timely manner that's suitable to you, which looks fantastic. Sweet. So we just wanted to, I think, deviate a little bit to a sadder news story. This is probably the first upsetting story we've ever had on the podcast. But obviously, this week it can't be overlooked that one Kobe Bryant, the NBA legend, unfortunately lost in a horrible helicopter accident in the United States. So sympathies, I think, from fans of not just basketball but all sport and everybody around the world has gone out as well. Unfortunately, it was Kobe, his young daughter Gianna as well, alongside others to name. I think there was the Allo Belly family. We had John, Kerry, Alyssa, mother and daughter Sarah and Peyton Chester, an inspiring coach who was working with Kobe as well on some youth projects, Christina Mauser, pilot of course as well, Ara Zob Ayan. So a huge tragedy, and the world obviously will certainly remember them all at the finest. So I think respects have been paid across the world completely, and within the gaming community we saw some really touchful things happening within the NBA 2K game this last week as well, where people were taking moments of silence, almost like a minute-long silent tribute, as we see in most sporting events. So yeah, so deepest sympathies from all of us at Sounds of Stadia as well. See, everyone's thinking of their friends and family at this time also. But yeah, we just wanted to mention, so we know it's not Stadia specific, but obviously it has a big impact on a lot of people's lives who were fans of the sport or just of life in general. It's obviously very upsetting stuff, so we wanted to make sure we got that in there just to give our sympathies as well as a group. So pivoting away from that unfortunate, untimely story as well, we've got some news that the Unity engine is now being supported by Stadia. So we discussed this yesterday on Stadia Talk, and none of us really knew what games, actually played on Unity. We've all played them, no doubt, but yeah, yesterday when I think Eddie or Chase threw us over the question, very quickly we realised we knew nothing what it ran on.
I drew a massive blank when I was asked, like, what game from Unity are you expecting? I was like, I know the engine.
Yeah, the engine is obviously on how many games we've probably played over the years, but it was just, I think, a really bit of critical news that comes out saying any developer using the Unity engine, you can now create content for on Stadia, which surely is going to tie in with some GDC announcements and partnership rules that are coming forward. So any thoughts on this, guys?
I think the one thing I'd just say is that the Unity engine, there's so many games, it could just be like information overload when you just start to think about it, because we're so exposed to possibly seeing the Unity logo at the launch of games that we actually sort of discard it now because it's pretty much everywhere. It's essentially the go-to open source engine for people to actually use if you want to get into like indie dev and so on. But just to name a couple of the really big games that have come out recently, Cuphead, we spoke about that on This Week on Stadia with the guys. Cuphead is a very big, very widely known game. We've also got Ori and the Blind Forest. Even Blizzard's Hearthstone's actually made using it. Yeah, the card game. It's doing really, really well. City Skylines. City Builder. Yeah. Okay. That's also Unity. There's a ton of them.
You're painting a good picture of kind of what the level of expectation I can see coming from Unity. So obviously we're not talking AAA standards, because that clearly requires probably a more proprietary engine, I'd imagine, to run with additional tools. But yeah, I think indie games, Cuphead to note one, is a great concept for Stadia. I think we mentioned it the other probably 2 weeks back now around indie games. There's that gap in the market. We need to see this kind of flourish going into probably the spring and the summer. That there's all those cheaper, almost double A and below titles that we would categorize them at. That I think at the $14-15 dollar mark, that's that sweet spot where you maybe don't want to flash the cash on a 50-60 full pound game. But yeah,
my thoughts on this are just, I'm imagining that Google have in the background have been trying to work with indie developers and probably taking on feedback and going, well, it's hard, maybe a bit too difficult for them to port, especially when you're a tiny studio. But by getting things like Unity on Stadia very well integrated, it's like, now it probably makes it a lot easier. So you're more likely to get indies going, okay, I'll send my stuff over to Stadia now.
Yeah, and any support for indies for me is a massive win. Like if you could literally develop your game in Unity and you could export the code into the executable game using a pre-built Stadia library, so it's already and packaged nicely to just be sent to Google to put onto the servers and job done, then brilliant. Like what is there to lose? Because I think one of the big reasons we haven't seen indie titles, and again, this is speculation, we have nothing to actually cite for this, but my speculation is that the issue with indie titles not coming to Stadia at the moment is twofold. A, possibly the lack of funds to be able to actually license it for Stadia, and B, possibly a difficulty in actually getting it ported to the platform. So if with Unity you can just export it in that package, push it straight to Google, and Google works something out on the back end in terms of sales, then brilliant. Because we've said it again, we've said it before, we'll say it again. You know, the library at the moment is relatively thin on the ground. Get a nice cheap indie title out on there, you could make a killing, in my opinion, at this point. You really, really could.
Yeah, I think with the library being the size it's at, it does kind of lend itself to curiosity with when we get our March Pro games. If they're going to give us another 2 from this library, at this point, have we not got like a third of the library for free, or if not more?
I think so, yeah.
Well, just do the maths. Like, how many games have we had come out, and how many have we gotten free since the launch of the service?
And we're almost being conditioned at a point to presume that we're going to get 2 free games a month also. Like, remember, Google only ever said that it was a free game per month with a pass. So I'd hate to think the backlash of all of a sudden we only got 1 game for March.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's going to come at some point, but they can't really. They're getting every single month. It's been 2 games.
Yeah. So temper your expectations for when you do get just 1 game in March potentially. But I think, again, back to the Unity story, the more platforms that are willing to play ball with Stadia, it just opens up to more games. And I think indie games have become a very niche market, but they flourish so well. There's so many little indie games now that you've got them being made by teams of just one individual, all the way up to bigger teams who focus on these kind of indie style ones. And it has kind of created a renaissance almost with platform puzzle games and stuff. I don't think we'd have the likes of Cuphead without indie development. And those kind of 2D platform styles. So it's good to see. It's more positive news for Stadia, and hopefully that just means there's more games in the pipeline, even on top of that initial 120. Because as you mentioned, Tom, if it's an easy process to just port it across, that could be a win-win to just flesh out this library a little bit more. So stepping away from March Pro games, we did miss a news story that we did cover yesterday on Stadia Talk. Which was the Google Silence update. So I know there was a bit of a backlash in the community around this. Again, I'm with these stories, I'm sure it's just vocal minority. I don't think anyone else really was that bothered who actually is a committed Stadia player, and probably the listeners out there. But yeah, gamesindustry.biz picked up an article about Google responding to slow announcements. So there was something, I think it was in the Reddit thread, that Stadia hadn't basically said anything for 40 days. Which then led to people saying that everyone was disrupted and unsettled and they weren't happy. And it kind of the news companies, as they do, picked up on this as that it was a massive problem. And Google responded. I think it was actually Grace from Google who did eventually respond. And unfortunately, it was one of them classic Stadia non-responses almost. Let's just have a look at the article.
Is that even true that it was 40 days?
Yeah, the updates, I think it was over Christmas, because obviously they took quite a bit of time off radio silent, and then we got the community updates about 120 titles, but then didn't specify any actual announcements.
Yeah, just to dispel any sort of misconceptions here, it was 40 days since we had either A, received a new game, or B, Google announced a new game for Stadia.
Right.
It was that lull between the previously announced game and then getting the announcement for Monster Energy Supercross, which we're getting next week, February 4th. So, something is coming. But yeah, 40 days in there. And I suppose it just irks people because they feel like they've bought a platform that we know is going to grow and the games are going to come. So we're not going to beat a dead horse. But, it's one of these things that it sort of makes you feel like people get impatient and people start to feel like, is this going stale already?
Yeah, it's just one of those statistics that it's a very particular statistic they've dug out to make a story out of it. And yeah, Grace responded, I think she said, we understand the desire to hear more specifics on games. After all, that's what it's about, the games. Not all 120 titles will be announced by the Stadia team, so they did kind of say it was up to the publishers to make announcements about their own IP and their own games, which is what happens across all other platforms. But because it followed on from that story of we've not had any announcements for 40 days, it was an unfortunate storm of events, which just makes it look bad.
Especially when Google already been criticised for the way they're communicating.
Yeah,
generally with the gamers.
But
This doesn't help.
Like an example case is Ubisoft's Gods and Monsters. The Ubisoft that's one of those games that it was announced last year at E3. It was supposed to be out Q1 of this year. It's been put on the back burner alongside Watch Dogs Legion and a bunch of other unknown Ubisoft titles. The reality is nobody knows when those games are coming for PlayStation or Xbox either. But because it's on Stadia, it's down to the developers. But because it's Stadia, yeah.
Do you typically get many game announcements this time of year? I'd imagine most companies, like most developers, are kind of preparing for things like GDC and E3 at this time of year, getting ready for these big shows.
Yeah, again, I think it's just been time poorly. That's it. Yeah. It's just two things have clashed. News websites have picked up because, again, who doesn't love to write a hit piece on Stadia at the moment? But it's just a case of, I think, keep your chin up. The games are coming. We know they're coming. They've announced 120, and I think once those floodgates open as we head into the year, because as we've said, we're in February now, so that's 1 month out of 2020 for these 120 games to be announced. So gone is the 10 titles per month. We're now over that, so it's got to happen at some point. And I think when we find out their next plan, the next steps, and we've gone on and on about base announcements, and we know GDC, they've got the I/O conference, then there's going to be something, and we'll sit back and look at this and laugh when we've got 120 plus titles on the thing, and we're playing all the current games day and date, and we've got day one patches, and we're playing at 4K, and you'll just look back and laugh.
I wouldn't be surprised if you look over the last few years if there's been periods of like 40 days on Microsoft or with Sony or Nintendo where there's been no new announcements, but it's not even noticed because they've got more games on the platform already. It's Google's small catalog at the moment is probably making it seem worse than it actually is.
Yeah, because it's basically it's smaller stuff stands out more. We alluded to it with on yesterday's show as well about saying that unfortunately because it is a smaller audience, you can find stuff easier. Like looking for a needle in a haystack is a lot harder than looking for a needle in a box. You've got that smaller starting point. So it's one of those things. Yeah, we'll look back. If it wasn't on Tom's beefy list this week, then clearly it's not an issue. So if it's not an issue for Tom, it's not an issue for us.
The truth is, we should have like 140, 150 games on Stadia in the catalogue. And it'd be a very different landscape then. And then we'll probably also have Google have been to things like E3, so we'll have probably a bit more of a roadmap what will be coming in 2021.
Yep. Yeah, I think the thing is that like panic media sells, so that's why they do all these things. You know, this is why you see stupid headlines in the news all the time, rather than looking at sensible things or looking at positive things. People usually spin a negative story and just try to make it all about that because it gets people talking. But like we've said from the beginning, really, like you shouldn't always point the finger at Google because this happens on every platform. It's not down to Google. You're just focusing on something because you want to have something to complain about.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I recall buying my PlayStation 4 day one, and I think out of the games that were available, once you knock off the ones that you've got no interest in whatsoever, I think I bought about 4 games or something. I think I had a Lego game, I had Assassin's Creed, I want to say. I had Killzone Shadowfall, and maybe FIFA. I don't know if that was there at launch, but essentially, I bought the 4 games that I wanted to play, and I don't recall buying any more immediately after that because that's what was available. 4 games that fitted into my wheelhouse of the games I enjoy to play. If we fast forward to the end of this year when PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are out, what's that library going to look like for next gen? Yes, there's backwards compatibility, but is everyone going to pick up them consoles day one and all of a sudden have a catalogue of 140 games? I don't think so.
No.
So, but will there be articles about that?
Does help.
Probably not. 100% it helps. But again, this is a brand new platform. It doesn't have the luxury of delving back into years worth of legacy and history. It's brand new. Just like a baby, it can't walk yet. Give it time. You need to teach the damn thing.
That's an analogy for you.
It is. It's true.
It can
guarantee you.
Crawl.
Yeah, guarantee you, any of our listeners out there, you couldn't speak at the age of Google Stadia. You couldn't walk. You couldn't read the damn article that's pissing and moaning about Stadia. So who are we to complain? You're just a baby.
4 months old.
And funny enough, the people who are complaining day in day out are probably acting like it as well. So get over it. Move on. The games are coming. be patient. It's a virtue, apparently. So moving on from that story, then we'll kind of slowly start working towards the end of the show and wrap things up. We got a fun story coming out of America. Atari, remember those?
I'm sorry, who?
Atari. I think they own Pac-Man. No, they don't own Pac-Man. Sorry, Space Invaders. Space Invaders is what they own. They've decided they want to make hotels now.
Right. Okay.
Out of nowhere.
Whatever floats your boat.
Fun.
So yes, they've decided. There was a great article over on IGN. To its credit, if you check out their website, the hotel looks fantastic. It's got a neon red Atari logo creeping up the upside, to give this kind of grand kind of front across the hotel landscape. And then down the side of it, it's quite an interesting shaped building. But yeah, they're opening a few across the United States. I believe the first one is in Phoenix, Arizona, which
That's
seems
correct.
like an odd choice for me. I personally would have thought they would have wanted for Vegas, I guess.
It does feel Vegas-y.
Yeah, I mean, it looks Vegas-y.
Yeah. Got to admit, I'm looking at it and I'm almost getting a feeling of like evil corporation vibes.
Is that the red? Is that the red neon?
Yeah, it's sort of like it looks like it's the beginning of sort of like a Sith building.
Yes,
in a way.
There's definitely some holocrons under there.
That would be
black
awesome.
and red
a Star Wars
glow.
themed hotel.
Richie, there is a Star Wars themed hotel. It's in Florida.
Yeah,
Disney World. You can stay there for 3 whole days and have an immersive experience.
It does look like it should be built on Mustafar, though. In my opinion,
it most certainly does. Now you've said it, I can totally see that correlation between.
Sorry,
the two.
Atari, I'm ruining it for you. But
hey,
I'm making it better.
Yeah, depending on which side of the Force you land on, that could be right up your street. But again, it's a very curious story. I just wanted to throw it in there. I don't think there's any Atari games on Stadia, but
I'm trying to look at the moment to see what's the last thing Atari actually published, and I'm not finding anything recent.
I think the last game I played was Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
I mean, there's some great stuff in there. The original Doom is apparently listed for Atari. It might have been on an Atari platform. Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, that's the Roller Coaster Tycoon. Not a great game, number 3, by the way. Unfortunately, it kind of killed the franchise, and it's kind of came back under different guises over the years with microtransactions.
That'd be cool on Stadia, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I kind of like the idea of having a hotel, though. If they're sticking with the Atari theme, with video game experiences and stuff like that, you think they might be able to actually like hit this sort of like idea of bringing back the arcade cabinet as well, because that'd be pretty cool. Like
an arcade cabinet in every room.
Yeah, get your Space Invaders, get your Centipede, get your Galaga, your Asteroids, all of those old school games. That'd be pretty awesome, I think.
Would you specifically stay in a hotel for that, though?
No.
If you're a big Atari fan.
That's the thing. It's great. It's
very niche, isn't it? It's very niche.
You know what? If it's priced reasonably well and I was going nearby, I'd consider it as.
Yeah, but
it's not what I'm going. I'm not going there for it being an Atari hotel. I'm going there because it will be a reasonably priced hotel in this analogy. That happens to be where I want to go.
Yeah, decent price, certain level of standard. Now, the interesting thing with this, the reason I kind of wanted to bring it up is because the secret that they don't tell you out of this story is the licensing of Atari is being given to an existing hotel brand, and Atari actually only take about a small percentage of the profits. So they're not building the hotels, they're not running them. It's purely just going to have the Atari name associated with these chain of hotels.
Right, so it's just
quite
branding.
Common.
So
I kind of just assumed that was the case.
But again, I think when you see the headline, you see the picture, it's almost as though you allude into thinking, oh, Atari are totally going all in on this, and arcades. Whereas actually, is it just going to be the outside, and maybe there's a few motifs on the wall of Space Invaders and such?
Okay, interesting.
So it's not a full in thing, but it'd just be like over here if Travelodge or Premier suddenly partnered with Stadia, and we got Stadia hotels. Maybe that's the strategic partnership with BT.
It's a hotel in the cloud.
Hotel in the cloud, yeah, top floor.
I can just imagine just having like a Travelodge that's paired up with like the like Sega Dreamcast or just something old like Travelodge with the Mega Drive or Travelodge with the Master System.
Different ones, yeah.
You know what? If they put a Mega Drive in every Travelodge, I'd say more Travelodges. Yeah.
But the reality is, the one thing I would expect from this hotel is decent internet. I know Atari aren't known for that, but if you're going to launch a gaming hotel, you need to have space for your customers to take their own, like Switch, their Stadia, if I stay in an Atari hotel and I take my Google Stadia, I must be getting fast internet. And don't get me with that £6 for 24 hours premium bullshit. I just want free, fast internet at every damn hotel as a given right. Because it's hospitality, surely.
I'm paying to stay there. Just give me the internet. Doesn't have to be anything ridiculous. 50 megabits per second, I'll be pretty cool with that.
Yeah, don't microtransaction me in a hotel for internet. You give me unlimited tea and coffee. Or most hotels do, and unlimited
as
towels. As
many towels as you can want.
Yeah, internet is surely a necessity to come with staying away. Yeah. But either way,
the one game I have picked out of the list of Atari games in 2013. I'm surprised I didn't know this. Atari published Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition.
Oh, did they now, Richie? Is that a game that you like?
Yeah. It's like I do like that game. It's a pretty good game. That should come to Stadia.
Yeah, there we go.
What? Richie, when's it coming? When's it due?
I don't know. It might be. I'd love if it the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions were part of this 120.
You never know.
There's something between Baldur's Gate and Stadia because that's where Baldur's Gate 3 was announced.
Yep, very true. You know what? Stranger things have happened, just like Atari apparently going into the hotel business. Yeah. So, anything can happen. Just last news story of the week, just to wrap up, is I wanted to touch on this a little bit. So it's not Stadia related directly, but Journey to the Savage Planet was released on other platforms. And obviously we know that's specific to Stadia because they acquired Typhoon Studios, who made the game. So it's not on Stadia yet. However, it's currently sitting on Metacritic with a score of 75, which I think I just wanted to bring up because I believe it paints a good road for where Typhoon Studios are going to go in partnership with now being owned by Stadia. We all agree that it's going to make its way to Stadia eventually, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, if you're going to acquire the damn studio, you own the IP, surely that would make sense to port. That would be the first thing they do after it being acquired is move your game over to us.
Yeah,
then start work on a new game.
I'd like to think so because I'm seeing a lot of articles popping up about the game at the moment. In particular, you're seeing sort of the old achievement hunting style things, or like how to find these creatures, what you can see in the game, and stuff like that. And it seems like it's getting quite a bit of attention, really. So I'm actually sort of hoping it does because I do want to play it.
It's got to.
I'm glancing at the reviews, both using critic reviews and Metacritic at the moment, and it seems to be quite polarizing. People either seem to love it or not, basically.
You could say that about anything.
Yeah, there's lots of 10s and 8s and 9s, and then there's the odd 3 or 4 just in there, and it's just like, well, it seems to be a game that either you're going to really enjoy it or you're probably just going to hate it.
Yeah, just like you, Richie.
Yeah.
Polarizing to the very end. But yeah, again, I think it's got to come. It's one of those studios that if you're going to buy something, you're getting your money's worth out of it, surely, unless there's some kind of licensing deal with the other platforms that's keeping it under wraps. But I don't imagine we'll see it anytime soon. But I'd like to think by possibly the end of the year, depending on how quick it takes to port over. I can't imagine they get them to drop everything on this game and start working on a brand new IP specific to Google, especially if it's getting decent reviews. They might even want to get them working on number 2 exclusive for Stadia. A sequel follow-up.
Maybe.
I'd imagine they want it on Stadia as quick as they can just to start getting the money coming in from it.
Yeah.
And that funds the next game.
It's a self-sufficient funding pot. Excellent. So that brings us to an end of the news segment this week. Have you two gentlemen got anything else you would like to add?
The only thing I'd want to add just to wrap things up is I just want to thank everyone who came along to the streams earlier this week as well. It was an awful lot of fun. We're probably going to try to do a few more things like that in future, so just stay tuned and check out @SensOfStadia on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook as well. You can make sure to keep in touch with us and just watch out for any latest news really of when we're going to do things like that.
Yeah, we had a crazy busy this week actually. We saw Tom do his 2-part Borderlands stream, which you can check out over on YouTube still. Drop in and watch through that.
This is our 4th consecutive day where we're producing content.
I know, it's so tiring and we're hungover and we're still here doing it.
And Tomb Raider dropped as well.
Yeah, so if you've not noticed, if you're not subscribed to us, you'll have missed out on the notification, which is why we tell you week in, week out, click that little bell. It's really, really important. Not for us, but more so for you, because you'll miss out on great things like this. So it's been asked for a while. We know certain subscribers, Ashley, to name a few, have been beating the drum on this for every single video. So finally, yes, you can head over to YouTube, search for Sounds of Stadia, hit subscribe, but you will find our episode 1 in our Let's Play series of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, where myself, Richie, and Tom jump in with Lara and go raid some tombs and basically, enjoy the entire content that game's to offer. I've already finished it once, so I'm intrigued to get back in and wrap it up on hard difficulty with you two gentlemen. So we've got 6 episodes in the bank so far. So the ones that are already on uploaded to YouTube, ready to be rolled out. When you do watch them, be cautious that it was clipped from our live stream. So if we seem to be chatting about random stories that don't align up with the flow of the conversation, it's purely because we were drunk at the time, which seems to be a trend. We were distracted by pizza, and Tom was starting to get very tired. So just be cautious of that. We streamed for 9 hours, and this was clipped straight out of it. If you do want to watch it all, it is available over on our YouTube channel, but we have cut it out and edited, so you get about an hour per week to enjoy it at a more leisurely pace, I'd like to say. That brings us to a wrap on this week with Sounds of Stadia. Hopefully, if you've not already done so, follow us on Twitter and other social media channels. Thank you for listening to episode 19. And welcome back, Tom, once again.
Thank you.
The trio is complete. I've been Chris. Thanks for listening.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
And this is Sounds of Stadia. We're out. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Oh, and Holiday Inn, you need to start working on that Philips CDI link.
I don't get that reference.